पडेल ते.
हो हो.
झालंय स्ट्रीमिंग. सुरू करू शकतो आपण.
Okay, I think people are still joining in, but meanwhile, I think 6:29. Shall we wait for a minute or so?
Yeah, I think yes.
Okay, it's 6:31. I think let's get started as people are still joining in. I don't want to use the rest of the time. So welcome all of you, all those who are participating today. Welcome to this online meeting, and we are all here to listen to a very interesting talk. It is organized by Maharashtra Vruksha Samvardhini Institute of Natural History, Education and Research, Pune, and our Jhunjhunwala College in Mumbai. So, on behalf of all the organizers, hearty welcome to all the listeners as well as the Panse sir to this online meeting. Before we start, just a couple of things, housekeeping stuff for everyone. You all have attended many online meetings, I'm sure, but I just want to quickly repeat it. Please keep all your microphones on the mute so that it doesn't disturb with the speaker. We can all enjoy listening to the speaker by keeping our microphones on the mute. It will also benefit a little bit if you keep your videos on switched off mode so that the less bandwidth is used and we can all enjoy the wonderful slides that Panse sir has prepared for all of us. And we'll take the questions at the end. We'll finish the talk first and take the questions towards the end. You can put your questions in the chat box and we'll pick it up from there. And also you have the alternative, if you are not able to do that, we can just raise your hand or mention it through audio, and we'll take your questions through audio mode as well. So let's get started. I will request Dr. Vartak to introduce us to Sri Panse, a noted technologist, and he's a notaphilist. And so it's going to be an exciting talk. Over to you, Vartak sir.
Good evening, everyone. It is a great pleasure for me to introduce our guest speaker today, Mr. Shitalkumar Panse. After completing his Bachelor of Engineering in Electronics and Telecommunications from COEP, Government Engineering College, Pune, he did Executive Management from IIM Lucknow. He started working with Videsh Sanchar Nigam Limited as a direct recruit in Engineering Officer cadre and subsequently worked with Tata Group at various management levels. He has been associated with multiple firsts, including introduction of Internet in India in 1995, submarine optical fiber network rollouts, voice over IP networks and cloud technologies, In 2016, he ventured with his own startup into field of Internet of Things, that is IoT. He has many hobbies, including he is passionate about notaphilic, that is collecting and studying of banknotes. Has participated in many exhibitions and won medals for his collections of banknotes. He is an avid traveler and storyteller with focus on visiting UNESCO World Heritage Sites and destinations that appear on banknotes. He has visited more than 40 countries. With this short introduction, now I request Shitalkumar to deliver his talk. Shitalkumar.
Thank you very much, sir, and all the esteemed guests here. And I thank you so much for the opportunity. I hope I do the justice to the opportunity that has been given. I would share my PPT screen and do let me know if it is visible.
Yes, it's visible now.
Okay, I'm on to the share. Right. So thank you very much. I'll start my talk now. Today's topic essentially is wildlife across the world. And the whole that we are going to do today is my hobby, which I've been doing for the last 12, 13 years, is on the world banknotes. And we will try to talk about how the world banknotes depict wildlife. And we'll try to take some research to give the sanctity to the talk that we are doing. Just 30 seconds on what I do. NumisQuest is just my way of saying that I do a quest onto the numismatics and Notaphilic, which is a part of numismatics. And I try to do exhibitions and talks as much as I can do. And I'm a part of IBN's International Banknote Society Hindustan chapter. Why I mention it here is the community that we work together helps us out to do this justice to all the webinars that we do. And my main focus is on conservation and education. And today it's right fit for what we are doing. And when I talk about conservation, we talk about heritage, culture, nature, flora, fauna, and other resources, and all the topic based on education. So that's the brief of what I do in currency stories and NumisQuests. Let's start with the topic for today. Very quickly, why through banknotes? This is just a lot of banknotes here. If you really see, this is just a photograph which tells you there are so many banknotes across the world, 193 countries, 2 independent UN countries, 50 odd independent regions which have their banknotes, and another 50 historical countries. So a lot of countries, and most of them have their own banknotes. And that is still the major way of buying and selling for most of the people. And that's why if those exchange hands, and if we try to look at the banknotes as a canvas, which can show so many photographs and information, that would be very useful. So what we are trying to do today is go through most of the banknotes which have already come through and try to look deeper into it rather than just allowing it to pass through our hands. Quickly, a couple of slides onto what banknote is, because we are setting the context why banknotes. So banknotes are a very different coins. Most of the people have been collecting coins, some of them banknotes. In currency notes or banknotes, as they say, I would just give a few trivia. So most popular banknotes or the currencies are dollars, pounds, pesos, dinars, rubles, which come from more than one countries. Even for that matter, rupee. We know for sure that rupee is in Pakistan, Sri Lanka, India, but there are many, many more. Even the older rupees like Zanzibar rupee, Indonesian rupee, Mauritius rupee, Maldives rupee, and there are more. In the banknote itself, we are used to call paper money, but incidentally, paper is not the only material that is used for banknotes. So nowadays, polymer, which is plastic, sort of a plastic, with care being taken for the environment, long lasting and saves paper. More than 55 countries today have polymer banknotes. And we have seen banknotes or currency notes which are coming on wood, cloth, silk, leather, and even some interesting ones like on walrus skin. One of the trivia before we move on to our story, when did the banknotes and currency note really start off? Because coins have been there for ages together, quite more than 2000 years, coins have been there. So the best known information that we have is when did the banknote start off is probably from the Chinese era in Ming Dynasty, somewhere in the 14th century. and that's the depiction of the earliest banknotes. Were they popular continuously? Probably not, but somewhere in 17th or 18th century, it became a norm. And from 19th century onwards, banknotes have been there consistently in large numbers. I would like to give some credit because this research and what I present today, I have tried to make it as factual and correct as possible. And it wouldn't have been possible without some credits and acknowledgements that I give. And one of the important research paper is as I mentioned here, from cash to conservation, which is specifically focused onto conservation of fauna and on banknotes. And I've referred to that paper as well while presenting it. Second important thing is for the endangered species, we all refer, and I refer to the IUCN Red List. And then the generally available, freely available information, which I refer here. Some setting of the context. What is, and most of the people might know about this, so I put in just few bullet points.
Panse sir, I think we probably lost your sound. Yeah, Panse sir, I think you got on a mute there probably, so we are not able to hear you.
Okay, am I back? I think my
Yeah.
sharing is gone off.
Yeah, your presentation is also off.
Probably dropped.
Yeah, it's back.
Okay, wonderful. Okay. So coming back, the quick statistics that I wanted to say is, as far as IUCN is concerned, from their website, they mention about 170,000, closer to 169, 170,000 of species have been assessed. And they aim to go to about 260,000 species, and out of which about 47,000 species are called as endangered. And to set the context, what is endangered? All the species are normally put into these 9 categories. And the red ones, as we say, vulnerable, endangered, critically endangered, extinct and wild and extinct, are normally treated to be fairly endangered. The numbers are very low, and there has to be a proper effort for conservation and increasing their numbers. So with this, if this was the context, what are we looking at from the banknotes? Is it really comparable? Let me be candid, it is not. The research actually looked at about 4,000, 5,000 banknotes across 207 countries with a limited scope of about 40 years. It could be much more. And the species which were depicted were about 352 species, and the numbers are there on the screen. And about 92 countries have their banknotes which depict wildlife and fauna. That still leaves about 50%. But then should we look at it? It's worth looking at it. At least there are people who are looking at banknote and trying to put them for people to see. So it's worth looking at, though the numbers might not sound very high. Now let's go and start our banknote stories. I've structured it a bit, and I'll talk how I structured it. But let's start with this. Are the banknotes fairly visible, sir? The photographs?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I will try to talk about one by one about how we have distributed it. So let's start with the birds. I've done with birds, mammals, and aquatics, just to group them together, and we have a context. Bolivia, I've taken most of the birds have been seen coming majorly from the South American continent. And hence I started off with the South American continent. That does not mean there are not others in the world. So we have done a mix and match of whatever best we could do here. There are many more. And I will have some interesting fact to say on Bolivia. So Bolivia is on the South American side, and it actually separates itself on the west side on the Andes Mountains and the east side onto the Amazon rainforest. So you would see a difference of fauna based on where it comes from. So one of the very beautiful notes out there is the one which is shown on the 50 Bolivianos, as they call it. And that's the Andean flamingo. It's a very nice bird, and as of now, it's endangered at the status of VU, which is vulnerable. Interesting thing is you should look at the plant that is also being shown in here. which is the quinoa real plant. So these notes, most of the South American notes are very focused onto nature. And hence, you would not only see the fauna, but you'll probably see flora and the nature reserves also in back. So that's one of the first notes. And the second beautiful note on the right-hand side has a couple of interesting things. One is the blue-throated macaw, which is critically endangered. There is a waterfall in behind, which is a nature reserve. And another interesting part here is a patuju flower. Now, why it is interesting? If you seek out here, it's a national flower of Bolivia. And interestingly, Bolivia has two national flowers. So we are deviating from the birds and the animals, but I just wanted to make a point because that's a very beautiful note. And this flower actually has three colors. It has red, yellow, and green. And interestingly, the Bolivian flag also goes to these three colors. So we'll see another note going forward, and we'll have an interesting thought there as well. So that's the second note. So Bolivia, there are many more. In fact, there's an entire series, but these are two beautiful ones. We'll see one more coming up later. This one is pretty interesting, and I try to pick up another South American note, which is from Galapagos, which is the islands are part of Ecuador. Very interesting, two or three things here, and there are two species shown here. One is the endangered species, which is the Galapagos penguin. And the second important one is Galapagos is basically Floriana giant tortoise, and which is essentially extinct. What is important, what is so interesting about Galapagos is it is believed that the Darwin's theory of evolution and the inspiration that Darwin got actually came in from the Galapagos Islands, and there are so many endemic species on Galapagos Islands. And Ecuador, though, no longer uses this currency at all. They use US dollars now, so no longer uses this currency. But at the time when they did use it, they made a point to depict this particular species. So we have one example of an extinct species also depicted on the banknote. Quick on to the other things. We have nearer to our home, Sri Lanka, and Sri Lanka shows this Scopes owl onto its banknote. And why I only chose one of this. In fact, trivia has a Sri Lanka has an entire set from 20 rupees to 5,000 rupees, which shows birds and butterflies, which comes from nearly threatened to least concerned. And this one is endangered. So while I could have shown all the other banknotes, this one is interesting because it specifies one of the endangered species for conservation purposes. And all of these notes also, if it's interesting for some of you out here, there is also a baronet butterfly, and every of those notes also depict a butterfly. So most countries who are really nature or flora fauna oriented try to use the canvas for more than one depictions. The similar story goes for Samoa. Samoa is an island into the Pacifics, and there are quite a few stories about Samoa. And this is where the conservation is taken very seriously. Because of environmental threats, the island by itself is endangered and probably faces it has a probability of sinking or losing landmass. So they are doing as much as they can do for environmental care and conservation. So this is a critically endangered tooth-billed pigeon out here, and also it's known locally into Samoa as Manumia. And this is an endemic species. Important story of this is only found in the island country of Samoa. So it's endemic to that particular country. Moving on to New Zealand. It's a yellow-eyed pigeon, also known as Paiho. And again, this is endemic to New Zealand. A couple of more things that have been shown is Ross Lily and Campbell Island Daisy, which are shown onto these banknotes. The colors are not matching. These are more colorful than what are being depicted here. But these are in the background is a Campbell Island, part of New Zealand. So even New Zealand as such, even if and this incidentally is a polymorph note as well. So New Zealand also chooses to depict as much on the nature and species as possible. So my request is, if I'm going a bit too slow and we are against time, do let me know. I will have about 15 odd slides.
No, sir, you're perfect. This space is perfectly right.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We'll move. This is a second set. And again, there's a reason why I put this set in. This comes from Suriname. Suriname is another country in South America. I did a bit different. I showed both the sides of the note. One is, we call it in our parlance as obverse and reverse. So obverse is what is part of our interest, which is the birds and the species which are a part of vulnerability. So we have one which is least concern, one which is vulnerable, and one which is nearly threatened. And there are a few more. And these are the ones, as you will be able to read here. This is red-necked woodpecker, red-billed toucan, and hornet-hawk eagle. The reverse of the banknotes are also being used for nature, and that is where the flora is being shown, the passion flower out here. And hence I chose these three to show both the sides of the banknotes. Sometimes so nice, and having all the banknotes together, it's a very interesting research. So passion flower, cannonball flower, and it's a tree which is a pitch apple. Lots to write, frankly, but I just wanted to introduce it here so later on all who are interested could actually look through it and get more information. Since I'm on the banknotes, I couldn't stop writing a few trivia out here, which may not be directly to the flora fauna. But Suriname as a country was earlier a colony of Netherlands, Holland. So it was a Dutch colony and called as Dutch Guiana. And hence you would see the currency name here is Gulden, which was the Dutch currency name. Since then, it has changed to Suriname dollar. But these notes are still available with collectors, and hence we are not lost to all the depictions that are happening on the notes. So interestingly, sometimes with the new governments and the new policies, the countries choose to depict things other like personalities or any other things or buildings, modern buildings. But the earlier ones were very well done. So we have a chance to look at those. And passing comment on to Suriname, again, Suriname is a substantial Indian origin population, and Hindi is one of the widely spoken languages, which probably some of you might very well know, but some of you might not know. So I just wanted to put this point here while we are on the particular country. So those are the three banknotes on obverse and reverse. Let's move to the mammals. And more often than not, everybody knows when it comes to mammals and a lot of species and habitat, Africa is the way to go. Though there are so many other species across the world. So it's always Africa and the world. Serengeti National Park, right, and Masai Mara. Most people know about it. There are so many other places like Botswana, South Africa, East African countries. So I've tried to spread this across. I've taken this particular Western gorilla from Congo Democratic Republic. I'm trying to do a mix and match so that actually I introduce some banknotes and some countries information also blended into our talk. So this Western gorilla is again critically endangered, and it comes from Congo Democratic Republic. So we have Republic of Congo and Congo Democratic Republic as two countries in Africa. And this country was part of the Belgian colonization. And at that time, there used to be very beautiful notes coming up there. And this note actually came in from Zaire, which existed in 1997, after which it got the name back as Democratic Republic of Congo. And that's a gorilla, the entire family, probably even the smaller one out here. This one is again from the same country, but the newer ones which come onto the francs. So you would see when it was Zaire, the currency was Zaire. And now when it's the new currency, which is Democratic Republic of Congo, it is francs, Congo franc. And this is lion, which is vulnerable. And again, it's the same note. Again, why I depicted is because they specifically wanted to show that particular species and that animal on both sides. So this is actually the same note showing on the both sides, one singular and one as a family. So this is an obverse and reverse depicted. Same country again, and we have an okapi. I mean, the reason I mentioned is it's a very different animal, which part looks like a zebra and the other animal too. So that's okapi, which is endangered. And there is specific okapi wildlife reserve in Congo. So that's so much important in there. So this covers more of the in Congo side of the Africa story. And I have two more from Africa. One comes from Algeria, and that's a Cuvier's gazelle, which is vulnerable. In locally at Algeria places, it's known as Edmi also in local language. And it's probably the darkest and the smallest gazelle species of all the species that are available in the gazelle. And as much as this has been depicted by Algeria, it's found in and around the similar region of Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia, and Western Sahara, which more often than not. There could be few things which are at other places, but this is where it is. I did include something which is being depicted. So we have to not only focus on to the vulnerables and endangered, but there are countries in Ethiopia, probably there are not so much so endangered species, but there are species worth looking at and species which red list, IUCN red list does track. So it's worth tracking. It's worth knowing that it's there. And that's lesser kudu. And it comes from the Ethiopia, which is on the east of the African continent. So Ethiopia and the region of East Africa has this species. So I had mentioned about Bolivia, and I come back here. We were into the birds there, and we're back into the mammals here, Africa and the world. And this is the Andean cat from Bolivia. So if you look at, we had 50, 10, 100. Now we have this 200, a beautiful cat which is shown, which is endangered. And there's another flower out here, and you would find a similarity on the color side of the story. And this is called as a cantuta flower, which is another of Bolivia's national flower. So Bolivia incidentally has two national flowers, and this comes from the Andes region, and the other one came from the Amazon region. This is shared as a national flower by Peru also, because the Andes mountains are common to Peru and Bolivia. So this is shared as a national flower by Peru. So we do have a banknote. Incidentally, Peru also shows this national flower onto its banknote. And in the background, because we are talking about cultures and conservations also, and since it is apt to talk here, I thought, so Tiwanaku is a place which is on the background. And if you would at any point want to search through it, this is also UNESCO World Heritage Site. So for collectors like me, these are so close to our hearts, which shows flora, fauna, and heritage sites all together in one. And I've already spoken about this, but I just mentioned the trivia here. Bolivia has two national flowers out here. We're talking about Costa Rica, another South American country. And there's where the Panamanian white-faced capuchin, which is a sort of a monkey, and which is a vulnerable species that comes from Costa Rica. Again, the entire Costa Rica range has fauna and flora also to some extent depicted on their banknotes. And they are also polymer banknotes with very, very vibrant colors. And if you would see a lot of nature reserves also being shown in the background, there's some trees and plants and flora. So really, if you hold them into the hand, they are really exciting banknotes to look at and research. It's a nice canvas. We move on to something different on the other side of the world, which is on the Pacific, and another another country in the Pacific, which is Fiji, and it is Fiji crested iguana, which is out here, and which is critically endangered. I only talked about this. It is endemic to Fiji. And then there is also a flower being depicted on the flora and fauna, and there is a balaka palm in the background. So the Masirato flower is also endemic to Fiji. And then balaka palm, actually there are about 11 species, out of which 7 are native to Fiji, but all the 11 species are part of the Pacific Islands. So that more or less covers on the mammal sides of the story. Marine life. And I deliberately tried to choose these notes here, which is interesting because we have Fiji, we have Seychelles, we have Brazil. So Fiji and Seychelles are island nations. Then we have French Pacific territories, which is overseas Pacific islands administered by France. And they also have their own banknotes. It's not directly French franc, but specifically francs for themselves, and which cover 3 island groups, which is French Polynesia, New Caledonia, and Wallis and Futuna groups of islands. Why did we put in these 3 and 4 here? Because all of them depict a turtle, and which is the same type of turtle, which is hawksbill turtle on Fiji Islands, on Seychelles Islands, which is on the African side. Then you have South American side, which is Brazil, and then you have Pacific. So you have 2 Pacific, one in the African side and one in the South American side. And all of them have the same species. In fact, this species has been depicted into 7 different countries across the world. Even it intrigues me. So I would be candid to know that I haven't researched enough to understand this. If at all it's depicted by so many countries and it's onto so many banknotes, ideally they should be aplenty across the world. But nonetheless, the numbers are not as much as to be least concerned about them. The species actually still comes under critically endangered. So the message probably here is, irrespective of whether they are across the world, they are being depicted and the conservation efforts are there through with multiple countries. There could be species which are still not in good numbers enough for comfort, and they're still endangered. So we see all these fours with different countries, different regions, and still show the hawksbill turtle. This incidentally has one more interesting species out here, which is it looks similar to stingray. Stingray is poisonous fish. I tried to research a bit here, and it seems that the one depicted here is a variation of the stingray. Looks similar, but it's a bit different, which is called as mantare. And what is the difference between mantare and the stingray? Mantare is a bit bigger, fairly bigger, I think, larger than stingrays, and it is not venomous. And they are filter feeders, unlike the stingrays. Filter feeders is a way of how the species and animals actually feed through. So they take in whatever they have to take in from the water, consume whatever has to be consumed, and put out the rest. And the limited description and what best I know about this, most of you who are already included might know, will know, definitely know much better, but had some interesting information. So I thought including this here would be interesting for the esteemed audience here to know. A few more marine life, and these are the marine life which comes from Comoros, which comes from Costa Rica, again from South America, and this is from Djibouti, which is on the eastern side of African continent. Some of the people, and why I put this specifically, the Djibouti here, is because the whale shark comes on a commemorative banknote. What is a commemorative banknote? To celebrate some event, some countries have a limited number of banknotes which are actually published. So the way we do most of the times for special occasion coins, banknotes also are published onto commemorative requirements. So this is an odd denomination of 40 francs, Djibouti francs. And they choose to highlight the endangered species of whale shark while commemorating the 40 years of independence. So things like this probably could also help spread awareness. So if it's not easy to always have depictions onto banknotes, which are regular use banknotes, because churning them, printing them, doing new designs, very difficult. So commemoratives actually help to pass the awareness. So we have from Costa Rica, Coelacanth. This is one. Its alternative referred as Gombesa in Morocco and comes from the West Indian Ocean more often than not. And this is blue shark from Costa Rica. Last but not the least, in the marine life, I wanted to depict this because this is not very well evaluated. This is Triton's trumpet. It might ring a bell for most of us. It looks like a shankh, as they call shankh conch. And that's this is on the Maldives, but it's actually across the world at many places, including India. There are many species, so the species would differ, or the subspecies would differ. But this still is treated not as only as a conch that we use, but it's a live one at some point of the time before we start using it, and only the shell remains when we use it. That's called as Triton's trumpet, giant Triton snail. So that's also depicted by Maldives, and quite a few countries use this for many other purposes like musical instruments, and in some places even for religious purposes. So that's marine life for us. So these are the first phase of what I wanted to cover, and then we'll go to something more different in an approach. There are some special ones which I wanted to cover. This is the entire range, and very interesting and very beautiful, vibrant colors on all of those. And this comes from Argentina. Argentina have always come up with really beautiful notes and depicting nature. South American countries have a lot of biosphere reserves and national parks as well, and a lot of habitat to conserve this species. And I wanted to show all of them. Picking up one was not going to be fun. These are really beautiful notes. And you would see all of I've written if it is readable. These are guanaco coming in from 120 pesos note. And then the Andean condor. And Andean condor, as I said, is not specific only to Argentina. It's for the Andes Mountains. So this is also depicted onto Peru's banknote. So most of the Andean countries would love to depict this. And all of these are from the background habitat. And I've written Argentina banknote depict UNESCO World Heritage Sites also, which are national banknotes. So some of them are part of Valdez Peninsula and as Low Glaciares National Park. And that's the habitat in behind. And you have guanaco here, Andean condor, the bird with large wings. We have the Taruka native deer here, southern right whale, jaguar, and hornero as a bird. And all of them are from least concern to vulnerable to nearly threatened. So we have a range, but I think at least as a country, they value the nature and want to depict it. And their seriousness comes from the fact that most things are not left to imagination. If you really look at the notes whenever you can, or at any other places, if you can zoom this through, the names of the birds and all the species is actually written here on the banknote. So it's easy to understand and easy to know rather than going around for searching. So very focused effort by these countries, beautiful notes. South Africa go a step further. And this is a very beautiful set, recent set, but they have done earlier sets also. SARB, South African Reserve Bank, and they have their mission, vision statements, and they have their values. And they see that all their wildlife is so near and dear to them. And every of the wildlife and every of the species stands for something. And that's where they attach importance to each of their species. So if you would see the white rhinoceros doe, it's nearly threatened, and it talks about accountability. So of the values that South African Reserve Bank talks about, they talk about accountability is most being shown by the white rhinoceros, which stay together, and that's why they are endangered. And we demand, and everybody should work towards protecting them. The elephants are known for being together as a family, and they trust and respect. So building social bonds, inspiring stability and confidence is what the South African Reserve Bank see as the value depicted, or what the elephants and the elephant herd stand for. So that is what is dependent here. And this specific savanna elephant is an endangered species, and it's VU endangered. Then this is a bit different here. This is endangered here for this. Then we have a Panthera lion, which is for their excellence and prominent leader and excellence of the kingdom. So it's a king lion and leader of the pack of the animals, and that's where they see excellence here. Open communication with African buffalo. It's nearly threatened, and that's what the value stands for. And finally, the integrity is what they stand for, the panther, the leopard. So very, very nice and interesting way of passing on the message and giving importance and national commitments to this wildlife. Takes it a notch further in conservation and protecting. So I thought a good work done in depicting, and this is available in their websites. So good job done by South Africa, and very beautiful notes. This is a second series, and they had an earlier series as well. I quickly put in Nepal out here because it's nearer to home and a lot of species out here, and the entire Nepal series of banknotes starting from 5 rupees going to 10, 20, 50, right up to 1,000. All of these banknotes actually depict wildlife, and they do it very, very well. So you have domestic yak, which is basically its status is unknown. It's not assessed completely, not assessed. Then you have blackbuck, swamp deer, Himalayan thar, greater one-horned eagle, which is vulnerable, tiger, which is endangered, and Asian elephant, which is endangered. So because it's nearer to home, and we see this species back in India as well, and hence I wanted to update this. Now we are going to come to something interesting part, and I really request all of you to look at this. This is very different from what others have done. This is Venezuela, and Venezuela is a very, very beautiful country with lot of biosphere reserves, and the amount of banknotes that these guys have got brought up with so much focus. It's exciting. There are 21 banknotes consistently, and this country actually is in a lot of economic distress. It has hyperinflation, very difficult to run through as of now. But despite of that, the focus that they probably do onto their nature and reserve is really commendable. I personally think so, and I'm sure all of you, when you see this, you are going to appreciate it. Have a look at it, and when you really feel these banknotes, whenever you look at it, and they are available in a plenty. So this is dolphin on the banknote. This is two Bolivar Ornico River dolphins, and it also has a flower out here depicted. And why I mentioned here is the two things. I'll put the trivia ahead, but Venezuela by itself has about 40 plus national parks, which are natural habitats, and that's big number. So every of its region has about 4 to 5 national parks, and out of which Canaima National Park is the biggest and extremely huge national park, almost about 30,000 square kilometers, and which hosts a lot of habitat, endemic and otherwise. But then you would see all the others of these birds and species would come from one habitat or the other, and one national park or the other, 40 of them. And just for the statistics purposes, almost 21% of the entire Venezuelan, and Venezuela is a decently big country, 21% of the country is covered only by controlled natural habitat under national parks. The 43 national parks together cover 21% of the country. So it's for there to see Ornico river dolphins, which are endangered, giant armadillos, which are anteaters and which are vulnerable. This is American harpy eagle, which is not threatened as of now, but it's also depicted, and I'm going continuously because all of these banknotes depict some wildlife or the other. The hawksbill turtle comes back again, right? We already have 4 of them. This is the 5th country which shows hawksbill turtle. I've mentioned the national parks also for reference purpose, and you would see there are different national parks which come up for every of this habitat, and the mountains here. This is the spectacled bear, which is vulnerable, and this is red siskin birds, which is again endangered. So 6 notes out here. I'm going to quickly move from the next slide, which is similar because Venezuela went into hyperinflation and they had to change their banknotes, and they had to actually increase the denominations by a high margin. They persisted with this with these depictions, even if it meant that they had to print their notes faster. They changed the colors, and you see it all of a sudden changes from 2, 5, 10, which are normal numbers, to all of a sudden 500,000, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, but the same species remain. So it was just a message passing that some countries do stay with, even if in economic distress, stay with their focus. And then again, we come to the next ones when they redenominated. That's the economic parlance. But once it became too big, they redenominated their notes. And at that point of the time, they again stayed back with their main focus on flora and fauna. So you see now these are the new notes again coming back to 2, 5, which was like the 2 was the earlier 20,000, which came back to 2 new bolivars. But then again, these are new mammals and birds and reptiles coming in. So this is yellow-crowned Amazon parrot, which is least concern. Critically endangered, which is a subfoot toad, which are different from the ones which saw earlier. So see the chain. There's so many banknotes here, and this is a giant anteater. My mistake. I made a giant anteater earlier, but this is the one from the national parks which I've mentioned. This is the jaguar, which is nearly threatened. Leopard, which is least concerned as of now for them, and which comes from the national park again. And finally, the brown spider monkey, which is critically endangered. So it continues. We have already seen 12 different species already from the banknotes, and there are 2 more. So 21 banknotes on the trot, which have this species. We have military macaw, and we have Venison tropial, which is least concerned, but it completes the set. So whatever I mentioned earlier, I've just mentioned it here for records. So more than 40 national, 43, if I get the numbers correct. And it's about 21% of territory of Venezuela, which is and Kanaima National Park, which also has a waterfall, which is the world's highest waterfall, as they call it, as part of UNESCO World Heritage Site. So notes wise, I wanted to cover in this particular way. There are so many much more and so much lots to talk about. But I wanted to bucket it in two ways so that we can actually relish about what things are and probably do justice to the variations of things that are out there. I will have a few more slides, 3-4 more slides, to depict some efforts which I think are interesting and probably could be done by other countries. This is a note which is coming up next month, and this is what we call as a commemorative note, a collectible. So let's take it with a pinch of salt. It is also for collectors. This is a legal tender. It comes from Burundi, which has a lot of wildlife, a relatively economically lower country, but they do have a lot of wildlife reserves also. And these are 10,000 francs, which is hardly anything on the currency. It's about $3-4 of legal currency if you convert it. So these are collectors. So this would be an expensive one, but this is expected to be the world's biggest currency for collectibles. Only 2,000 pieces coming out. Why it is interesting is it is going to depict many of the wildlife, and this is a good publicity for conservation purposes. And this is done at the behest of CITES for the 50th anniversary of Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Flora and Fauna. So CITES is a website here which actually looks at the endangered species and try to do good work to alert and do good work to conserve. So to celebrate the 50 years, this particular banknote is coming up for collectors, collectibles, and trying to make a point. Probably, hopefully, a part of the money that would be earned for this collectible from collectors would be used for the wildlife conservations. So if you could get some view, notes are not like this, right? But this is 15.75 inches to 11 inches, so almost 1 feet by 1.25 feet. That's how big this note is expected to be. But that's making a point. And these are really beautiful notes. This would have many notes are very interesting when you see it under ultraviolet rays. So ultraviolet light. So UV light, if you see, you're actually going to get a few more which you wouldn't see as it is. So if you really look at it, this is how it will look at under UV, and you'll see a few more species like a toad here, which will not be visible normally. But if you would use under UV, you would see a few more species. This is under the UV. Some interesting things, and probably few more countries could do it. I'm almost coming to the end, and that's why I'm putting a bit more verbatim here. So leaving with a few thoughts. The conservation is on, and there are quite a few organizations and people like you and us very serious about things. And conservation is actually helping. So we must not stop now. I will only talk from the banknote perspective. If you really see, these are the maps on how much fauna detections, bird detections, and mammal detections are done across the world. And if you would see, it's not as dense and spread across the world. So only about 50% of the countries actually depict fauna onto their website, onto their banknotes. So there is a lot that could still be done if that's useful. And I leave with the thought and hope that if commemoratives, if not normal banknotes, countries could actually focus onto this. This is hope. And that's why I wanted to put these two banknotes. This is hope. Every action counts, and the efforts are yielding fruit. So these are the two fruits that are, this one is the Mauritius banknote, and one is the Angolan banknote. So Mauritius banknote shows 2-3 different species. One is the Javan deer, which is vulnerable. The Mauritian friar, which is vulnerable. And then this is crustal, which is the bird out here, if you see, the small on the right. This was endangered at one point of the time. And probably from the facts, at one point of the time, there were only 4 as a population, and then conserved effort onto increasing the population. As of now, it has reached from 4 to 250 plus, though it's endemic to Mauritius. So endangered have moved to vulnerable. So yes, specific actions do count, and there's always hope. So these, and they're on the banknotes also. You can tell a story onto the banknote. This has not changed from critically endangered, but at least with the efforts in the 6 years between 2012 and 18, the population moved from 4845 to 5630. So 2 depictions which tell that the efforts do yield fruit. So it's worth publicizing as much and doing the efforts also along with it. Last but not least, I am a storyteller. I like to tell stories. So I would like to keep storytelling. Speed the answer. Please do. Please help. And this is the way I have been telling stories with exhibitions and presentations. And this was the wildlife that I talked about. And I wanted to put this here because we talked about the Galapagos Islands and Lonesome George. This was one of those in news turtle, which was thought to be extinct in 1912, which reappeared after some years. And we recently in 2019, we lost this particular turtle, which is called as Lonesome George. So extinct is something which is not known for about 30, 40, 50 years. But then that does not mean that it doesn't reappear. So and the hope always is that we find them. But together we can. That's why I leave the thought along. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope I did justice to the topic. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Panse sir. Thank you so much. It was a wonderful talk, sir, and quite amazing. I never thought we would see such a fantastic, vibrant colors on currency notes. We come from countries where currency notes are supposed to be very somber. Especially when we look out around the world, notes like American US dollar notes that we carry, no matter which country we go to, they are comparatively very pale compared to what you have shown. So that itself was very surprising. And I loved that Argentina series that you showed. That was fantastic. They are so brilliant currency notes. And just one thing I wanted to know from you is, as we go on, is like it is very interesting and to see these wildlife on currency notes. How many of these are on circulating currency notes? You mentioned about commemorative as well. And because these are one wonderful way to actually spread the awareness, because everyone, as you said, in spite of all the digital currency and everything, these are still quite a common method of exchange in a lot of places. So wildlife on these can raise the awareness, and those beautiful slides at end, they were fantastic, I must say. So thank you, and we would appreciate if you can shed some light on that.
Thank you so much, sir, and thanks for the appreciation. Most of these currencies, sir, are circulating. So the Argentina currencies are circulating. The Suriname, as I said, is not circulating. This particular currency is not circulating because the Gulden has now moved to dollars. But most of the currencies that I have depicted here are circulating currencies, including the Fiji one, the Argentina. The Bolivian is the latest series and very beautiful series notes. And interestingly, and the Venezuelan one, the latest ones are probably, these are not the very latest one, but these are very easily available and accessible. The Venezuelan currency as such itself hardly carries any value. But for collectors, these currencies are available, and probably these are currencies which could be available for anybody who would like to make a frame out of it. Venezuela is easily available. Looking at them is so interesting. So whatever I depicted here, more than 50% of these notes, or much more even, are in circulation today.
Wow. And I noted the distinct lack of any currency from our country. Do you think that is something that can happen anytime?
I knew this question would probably come. There are two reasons to it. There are a few banknotes which have, like, there are deer, and there would be very old currency, and most of you people who have seen would remember the deer, 4 deers, 3 deers, 5 deers, 5 rupees notes, and there are tigers everywhere onto the older 10 rupee note, even the newer ones. Two challenges are there. One is this research. Probably if I go right from 1900s or late 1800s, there are about maybe 18-20,000 notes in total across the world. We limited the research from 1980 to 2020, about 40 years. During that time, not much of fauna has come onto the Indian notes, and that's why we missed something. Number one. Number two, generalistic representation of a tiger or of a deer would come out into some notes. But the way it has been depicted, very difficult to actually identify the very species, because it's not specifically taken, probably an artist's impression or probably a generic photo which we can't come in. And that's why we missed out upon it. there are hardly anything. I really hope that we have this vibrant things. And yeah, I see so many notes across the world, and then rue that we don't have. At least we have one side onto our banknotes where we could do something very beautiful.
Absolutely, and I know it can give a little tinge of sadness because we have such a fantastic wildlife to showcase, and to the entire world across the range from Himalayas to down south. So we're looking forward to something like that. That would be wonderful.
Yes, sir. But I think there's hope, and I always like to, I'm optimist, and I like to say with the hope being, if conservation, if I said UNESCO World Heritage Site is also part of conservation story, our latest series of banknotes, at least we have hope. The entire series, sir, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site series. So India has as much as 43 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, and the entire series right up to 2,000 rupees now depicts World Heritage Sites. It's a Sanchi Stupa
Wow.
is there. Then you have the Konark Temple onto this. So if it's changed and the entire series can come on the World Heritage Site, probably the next series comes on to flora and fauna. There's always hope.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure that would be wonderful.
Thank you.
Sir, I mean, also that the Venezuela that you mentioned, it kind of it's a how it documents kind of the economic story that is unfolding in that country. That was just amazing to see, and also a bit for those people, you feel a bit, suddenly the currency jumping from something 2,000 in a span of such a short time, and all of that being documented on those banknotes along with these wonderful sceneries. So there's a lot of story, as you mentioned, amazing stories in there.
True, very true. It's a canvas for anything.
Right. Yes.
Sir Panse, sir, do you have all these currency notes in your collection?
Yes.
And
There could be
secondly,
one
how
or
you
two-
have collected these notes? Means you have been to those countries and you have bought actually from there or from some dealers or something like that?
So multiple, sir. When I started, it was like if I visited or friends and circle, somebody visits, I used to pick up. So there was no theme. It was just counts. I have 50, I have 100. Over the last 5 to 6 years, I started focusing on to specific collecting. And that's where the story is the same, sir. Whenever in my childhood, we used to do exchanges. We still do exchanges. We have a community, fairly focused community. So some of them, when I visited, I've got them. Some of them are from exchanges because I got extra currencies from other places. And I will be candid, for collectors at some point of the time, it stops. Because if you are very focused, you can't really go and you won't be able to find those. So yes, after that, the buy is something that starts off from dealers or from collectors. I am very focused on the specific thing, whichever things I can afford. You would see collectors which do very much wonderful job on collecting and keeping and presenting. I would rather focus on to something which has to be presented. So just to leave you with a thought, this collection is same as any other collections, from getting it from friends and families to going to dealers as much as you can afford, to the extent that some of them go into auctions also, which we only have look at it and just be thrilled about somebody owns it. And that's about it, sir. But to answer your first question, sir, yes, almost all of them, one or two of them, which I've got from friends to complete the collection depiction. But the rest of this, yes, I do own them.
Thank you.
That is just fantastic, sir.
Thanks.
We have a lot of messages pouring into the chat. They all just to kind of summarize. Everybody just loved it. Excellent presentation, excellent slides, vibrant illustrations, much amazing. And there was one interesting comment on topic that we touched upon earlier about the Indian currency. And Shashank in chat says the Indian currency initially had flora and fauna depicted from rhino, tiger, elephant, Bengal tiger, like you mentioned. But now the new currency has more built-in heritage structures. That's been the focus, just like what you mentioned.
Thanks. Thanks so much. So I think I really want to thank all of people who have joined, and I really like to talk about it because keeping it with ourselves is not fun. But if there are people who are interested to look at it, I'm so happy that I could talk to and people could see it. That's how it spreads. And I really hope we do justice to all the things that we do for conservation, or at least awareness. Not everybody can actually go and do something onto direct conservation actions, but awareness by itself And next time, hopefully, people will look at the banknotes in a different way whenever they travel and look at the stories in there. I am a storyteller. I like to see every story made with sports, made with personalities, culture, heritage, flora, fauna, you name it. Flora would be another big topic.
No, it is very amazing, very interesting way to. These are very interesting media also. So, never thought it is excellent means of communicating stories. And just to mention, you mentioned your website was www.currencystories.com. Is that
That's one of the ones where I write only a few currencies. I have not been very active. I intend to make it active with the numerous quest. The intent was whatever I speak, sometimes I should be able to write it down so that somebody can refer to it. So I put all of these stories into it and many different topics other than this alone. And some
Ramani sir, any comment?
Mr. Panse, I have a few questions just for
Yes,
you.
yes.
Just the thing is that, as I notice very, very clearly, most of these currency notes which have depicted, fauna are from either South America or Africa. Most of them. Hardly anything comes from Europe, the North America, or the several other parts of Asia and all. Can you have any specific reason for this? Is this something to do with the fact that these are the countries where there is a lot of conservation effort going on, or is it something to do with the fact that they are more bothered about their fauna, their flora and fauna, and so they're putting it on their banknotes?
No, sir, actually, probably it's the way I went. And I started probably from South America. So it's not absolutely the case. No, there is a lot of depiction from countries in Philippines, in Singapore. The botanical gardens of Singapore also is being depicted. So it does cover. Europe, the only problem with Europe was certainly because from whenever this euro started coming in, it's all the same notes for all the 26, 27 countries. And hence we don't see a range. So I do have earlier notes, but it was difficult for me to pull it back quickly. So earlier notes which were pre-Euros, all those notes do depict things. So all of that, even Scotland for that matter, which is not a real country through, but it's distributed, sir. It's distributed across, not specifically, but most of them take pride. I think South America, we should be biased to them. The Perus, and they really seem to love the stuff, irrespective of whatever they are. They seem to depict it everywhere, and so do Africa. I've read other papers. We don't want to get political about it or anything, but I think there are intents also. Some people that tourism is probably done because of this. Some people might have intent. Some could be because of fundings, or probably because of the UN support in there. There could be other reasons. But if you really see that there are about 92 countries, sir, out of 115. So as much as we could feel happy about 92, I think there are still a lot to do for the other countries. If not the real ones, at least the commemorative ones. Burundi, I thought, is doing a good job. Djibouti did a good job on commemorative. There could be a few more.
Yeah, that UV light thing from Burundi was just amazing.
And you know, sir, this can be for everything. If you look at UV lights, you will see a lot of in many banknotes. Sorry, sir. Yes, Ramani, sir.
Yeah, just a question across. I remember one of the first few slides that were put in, that are we really looking at them? Are we really looking at these notes or these things for conservation? Is what I think somewhere you have put. Is that really true that okay, you have depicted these animals on the notes, but is it really helping in conservation?
Okay. That's and the research paper which, sir, I gave a link into now is a very nice research paper. I salute them. So all of this presentation, though I am a collector, I could have given my bits and pieces, but this is a very well researched paper, and it's available publicly. And this was done by the Griffith Australian University with 3 researchers, and they mention all of this, the questions that you talked about, and there are all graphs of each and every of these questions. And it's a very interesting paper, and which does talk about whether it does make an impact and whether does it not make an impact, what their view is. I don't think they have gone to person and trying to really find the impact, but they still have a movement of what could be, and they have their views in there. So whether it's making an impact, maybe I leave with some thought here, sir, because I come from the banknote side. All my banknotes will look vibrant because I am a collector and I have banknotes which are almost unhandled. And we call it UNC, uncirculated, which is true in coins, which is true in stamps also.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
true. But
okay. Sorry.
Your voice is getting broken a little bit.
Oh, sorry. So what I was saying is probably when they pass hands, if they are dirty, if they are bangled, it may not be as interesting when they come into the hand also. So as much as we would like people to look at it, they may not look as vibrant. Probably.
Yeah. No, I know, because if you look at some of the notes that we have got today in our country, they are in such bad shape that you can't even touch them sometimes. That is how they are.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you really put these things together, that is the fact that several of these countries which have really very good flora and fauna, they're putting them on their notes. I mean, maybe it is also just like several of these countries make phone cards. They have made, a lot of these countries have made phone cards, and a lot of beautiful pictures have come out of those phone cards, and that
Yes.
helps in tourism. So maybe this is also another method of increasing the tourism to that country.
Yes. Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. And it's so much to look at, because we know, for example, as you said, I have friends which only because of this banknotes, a couple of my friends are actually visiting Botswana. And more often than not, if you go Africa, it's always a Serengeti, Kenya, and standard stuff, maybe South Africa. But they have much more, probably not better. Let's not put it this side or that side. But there are unexplored places in Botswana and other places also, which probably we have not seen in Africa. So maybe these things help more tourism, as you rightly said.
One is tourism, another is maybe revenue also, in terms of trying to pass on these notes to collectors.
Yes, absolutely. And sir, and I'm hoping, as I said, the Burundi note is going to be expensive. I really hope that when the Burundi does that, they are going to get some money into their coffers. I sincerely hope is part of that money actually goes to conservations and other, or maybe for awareness and other things, rather than just making a money-making machine from collectors.
Correct. No, one is that. Another is, if the money really goes back to conservation efforts, that would be a good thing for conserving several of these animals. So that is a great boost. So I wish that also happens, and these countries take up this as a cause for taking up conservation efforts for those animals.
Very true, sir.
Thank you so much. It was a very interesting talk. I enjoyed the different animals that we had shown on different notes. But my real thing has been always, that somehow I find that it is also true with stamps that Africa and South America are countries which put up most of their flora and fauna on stamps or notes, or these phone pay cards or whatever it is, those phone cards or whatever, those kind of things. They are really innovative in their approach and trying to put these and put them in the forefront in really trying to understand, with the flora and fauna of their country. That I think should hats off to those countries. I really think, as compared to several of the, more developed countries which are not really interested in this. This is what I feel. This is a feeling I get by looking at stamps.